is Ecclesia de Lange. I'm a Methodist minister, or was a Methodist minister. Was discontinued in 2010, February, due to my announcement that I was going to get married to my same-sex partner, which happened. The announcement happened in 2009. In fact, if I go back a little bit before December 2009, I met with several of my colleagues who became my support group and assisted me in strategizing which would be the best way forward to make the announcement to the church. I thought that my announcement, because it's something personal and the congregations whom I served, which for me was my first priority of pastoral concern, were to be the first people that I informed. And so my support group assisted me in finding the best way forward, which then, as the end result, was to prepare a document, a 2-page document, which told my story very briefly, which would be a handout at the end of a combined service. As I said, we organized a combined communion service for both the congregations, where we shared the Eucharist. And after the service, I made this announcement that I was going to get married. I must admit, I wasn't sure what to expect from the congregation, because you know, I have been very open with regards to, you know, I'm inclusive. We should welcome all people in the church. So they knew very clearly where I stood on the subject of homosexuality and same-sex marriages. So when I came to the place of now announcing that I was going to get married and saying, I've got some good news to share with you, I'm going to get married, well, I had a standing ovation. And I was like overwhelmed, like, whoa, what's happening? And then a guy right in front jumped up and said, but Ecclesia, who are you getting married to? And I then said, Amanda. Well, the congregation then jumped up again and hands were just clapping, and it was a really joyful moment, which really, it blew me. I really didn't expect that. So I then progressed by saying that we entering uncharted water. I wasn't sure how the hierarchy of the church was going to treat this news. It is sensitive. We know that it's a thorny issue. But I've got a handout for you, prepared to tell you, just to give you some insight to how I got to this place. And I would love you to read it. And if should you have any questions, please let's have a conversation about it. So I left. At the same moment as I was making that announcement, another colleague of me was meeting with my superintendent minister at his church. We coordinated in such a way so that he would get a letter from me handed by Tim Atwell, a colleague of mine, informing him of my actions. And I thought, well, he did phone me at 4 o'clock that afternoon, saying that you can't speak to me about this now, we shall meet on Monday. Well, on Monday I met with my bishop, my bishop, who was really distorted. He didn't know how to handle this. He was, he received the same document that I handed to the congregation, and he said that he needed to go through it and then come back to me. My superintendent minister then informed me that he's going to lay a charge. He's not sure what the charge would be like, because there's really not something with regards to our doctrine and laws that you could particularly point to, because we don't have a doctrine on marriage and we don't have any laws on marriage. We only have liturgy that says, the normal liturgy. Will this man take this woman as your lawful wedded wife, whatever, husband. And then within 3 days the charge was laid. It was the Wednesday, and the Thursday I then got suspended. And this was now before Christmas, and they wanted to have the disciplinary hearing, I think it was 3 days before Christmas, and we were saying, this is ridiculous, this is one of the greatest celebration seasons of our faith, and you want to have, you want to do this, and I'm getting married on the 15th of December. It was like, how bizarre can it be? Anyway, we had the disciplinary hearing and postponed it to January, where I then, personally, I think the disciplinary committee were not adequately equipped to deal with this, and they found me guilty, which then went to the connectional disciplinary committee, in February, which obviously there was an appeal. I was found guilty again, and then on the 20th of February I was discontinued as a minister. And then the last process with regards to the legal process was arbitration. You can refer the matter to arbitration, which I did, and it's been nearly 19 months, and we're not any further with the arbitration matter.
So to come off that background and then hear people talking today about their stories, that must have resonated with you somewhat, maybe differently than other people in the room. What did you think of the plenary session today?
Most definitely, I could relate to both Douglas and Winnie's story. I think what was definitely a contrast is the fact that they're both still in the church. They are who they are openly. They are accepted, and somehow the Episcopal Church and the Anglican Church has somehow managed to have openly gay ministers or priests, where in the Methodist Church there's no ways that any gay minister is going to say, I'm gay and here I am. That's not how it is. You can't do that.
The discussion that followed was pretty wide-ranging, and you know, some people with different views, but it seemed to be a good spirit about the whole thing. What stood out for you about the discussion?
For me, I think just the safe space that was created, the respect in which questions were asked and listened to, and the respectful way in which questions were answered. There was no vindictiveness or judgmental. I didn't sense any kind of an attitude, but a real openness to listen. I forget the doctor's name now, from Uganda. I mean, he asked a very simple, basic question, and I think many people, were there, perhaps with the same question, but it's such a simple question that no one wants to ask. It might be a stupid question to ask: is homosexuality natural, or is it a choice? And I think many heterosexual people or people with a different sexual orientation struggles with that question. Is it natural or is it a choice? And I'm glad he asked that question, and I'm glad that the way Judith answered the question was very simple. It's something that you discover, and you want to express it in a way that you embrace who you are. So that was, I enjoyed, and also the complexity of sexuality in totality. It's not just about gays and lesbians and bisexuals and transgenders, and it's not just about, it's the whole spectrum of sexuality as a man, as a woman. How do we relate? How does culture impact? How does the tradition of the church impact? So I think it was a meaningful discussion.
Well, where would you like to see us be after we've spent this time together? What would you like to see come out of this gathering?
On Friday or Thursday?
Thursday, yeah.
I would hope that more of such consultations happen. I'm not quite sure whether you're going to do a writing on what has happened here or report back, and invite people. I don't know how you lure people into such a space, because you have to be ready to listen and to be open to that. I know that this invitation went widely into the Anglican circles in this country, in South Africa, and yet there are only a few that are here. And I know we should not despise the small beginnings, but I would love more safe spaces to be created for people to be able to speak who they are. Never mind whether they're homosexual or not, but to speak about their sexuality. It's a topic that has been taboo for so many years. For centuries, you just don't speak about it.
Great. Thanks very much.